This video essay looks at art therapy undertaken in museums and galleries and what is needed in order to develop the potential in this area. Firstly, I aim to outline what this emerging setting has to offer and show some current examples of art therapists working in museums and galleries. Secondly, I will look at how art therapists can create a framework for development with the support of their professional body, the British Association of Art Therapists. Art therapists have worked with vulnerable and marginalised people since the start of the profession. Historically, this has taken place in hospitals, asylums, across the NHS, private and voluntary sectors and prisons, and increasingly in mainstream and special schools. Art therapy in museums and galleries presents a small but growing area of practice. Many opportunities for creative ways of working with different client groups are being established as museums consider how to attract wider and more inclusive audiences, as mentioned in the Government White Paper of 2017. This film clip from a Suffolk Museums project demonstrates what is offered by the setting.
We always start by visiting the museum galleries, just having a look round and thinking what patterns, what bits of work inspire us.
It takes you out of the 21st century and all your stresses and worries and puts you back in a more peaceful time.
I've worked with Juliet Lockhart, the artist, for some years now, and between us we committed to developing meaningful community arts resources for people experiencing mental health problems.
So we work in 4 museums altogether. So Gainsborough's House here in Sudbury, the Museum of East Anglian Life in Stowmarket, Ipswich Museum and Moyses Hall in Bury St Edmunds.
I think a museum is a suitable place for an art project because we've got so many objects that have so many stories attached to them.
I think the museum's a superb environment. The whole atmosphere is conducive to being relaxed and being creative.
We can access rich local histories that are held in the museums, and particularly the objects and collections there have stories, and art is about stories, is about narrative.
I interviewed art therapist Ali Coles. She runs a museum-based art therapy group for young people with mental health needs in Gloucester. This project was chosen to represent innovation at a launch event for the Together NHS Foundation Trust titled Allied Health and Psychological Professions Practice Development Strategy. I asked Ali about the changes and benefits museums offer.
Particularly the young adults group, was the social connections that were formed between members of the group. And I think there was something about being in a community setting rather than NHS setting, and the fact that it was in the town centre, and it just felt a bit more normal, and that it was somewhere that they were going to with people who actually became friends by the end. And it was probably 18 months ago, maybe more, and some of them are still in contact, which I think is great, because that was one of the aims, really, was to combat kind of isolation.
Other research supports this view. As a result of participation in the arts, there were significant improvements in empowerment, mental health and social inclusion for people with mental health problems. Participating increases self-esteem, self-confidence and reduces isolation. People can benefit from visiting galleries between sessions, thereby extending their therapeutic engagement.
So we would look at a bit of social history, we will look at things in the museum, we will look at contemporary artists who are working in a similar way, so that people sort of understand how everything ties together, the art, the museums and the well-being.
The really important partnership we've built is with the NHS, which is a brand new thing for museums in Suffolk.
A member of staff recently came on a short taster course we did, and they said it's just helped me feel more connected to my local community. I have a sense of being part of something, and certainly for people experiencing mental health problems, we know that social isolation is one of the the biggest problem. So actually feeling more connected to the place you live in the here and now and through its history is a great thing.
Art is viewed as vital to the growth of our children and core to innovation and creative economy. The BAT website lists many other examples of art therapists working in partnership with museums and galleries, both here and abroad. In March 2017, the first National Museums and Wellbeing Week took place, where Jan Lowe ran an art therapy group for veterans using the John Constable exhibition called Observing the Weather. This focused on internal and external landscapes, which relates well to the frozen state of trauma experienced by some veterans.
Slightly different way of working, so we're keeping to the core kind of art psychotherapy principles, the way that we work, whatever we're doing, but because you're adding in the use of objects and exhibitions and that sort of process of going out into a gallery and then coming back into the booked, safe, private room where we do the art making, it adds a different kind of dynamic into the group, and we've basically been sort of exploring that as we go along, and also trying to capture how the practice is a bit different and what we've been learning through reflective diaries.
In 2013, MagSig began. This is a professional network for art therapists who are BAT members and are already working in or looking to develop work in museums and galleries. I attended the recent MagSig meeting where it was recognised that various things needed to take place in order to create a framework for development in this area. Firstly, the need to raise awareness and promote the area amongst art therapists. To address this point, MagSig members proposed that a conference should be planned for spring 2018 to gather interested people together to share and understand the current issues. From this, it is hoped to establish evidence and a research base to further the process of developing BAT guidelines, as has been achieved by many other special interest groups. To promote collaboration, Ali Coles and Alison Hewitt presented their work at the Museums Association conference last November. In response, the National Alliance for Arts in Health and Wellbeing, along with the National Gallery, are requesting collaboration and staff training, presenting opportunities to supervise wellbeing work. This presents new challenges for the art therapy profession. Ali reflects here on those developments.
That's the other side of it, really, is art therapists working into arts and health, because there's clearly masses going on in museums. Museums have really, really embraced the wellbeing agenda. There's a real push for museums to show that they're contributing to health outcomes, including mental health. So, the National Alliance for Museums and Wellbeing is doing a fantastic job of showcasing all that and encouraging people to do it. And what we need to do is to show how art therapists can contribute to that. So that's not just partnering with museums to provide art psychotherapy, but it's also acting as consultants, perhaps, to artists and museum professionals who are delivering wellbeing projects in museums. So what we've got is our skills of a sort of risk assessment, of containing difficult emotions and distress, of making sure that the intervention is matched to the needs of the participants. So all those kind of skills, pacing, ending things properly, which often people delivering arts and health projects in museums and wellbeing really struggle with.
Ali Coles has highlighted many of the benefits this setting presents. However, there are also differences that offer challenges to the profession. For example, maintaining privacy and confidentiality in public spaces, outlined by the BAT Code of Ethics, keeping clients' work safe and contained, and whether or not to display the work that's made. The following images illustrate clients' work displayed at the Maudsley Hospital Long Gallery. Riley's comment is particularly relevant here. For the construct of art therapy to remain viable, it must be continually reinvented. How can BAT change and adapt? Articulate is a BAT initiative to respond to the need to develop training for schools in promoting art for mental health wellbeing work. Will BAT provide a similar initiative for museum staff? Public awareness for mental health needs are being championed by royalty. The Duchess of Cambridge is now patron of the charity Art Room. Well-known philosopher Alain de Botton mentions in his book Art as Therapy the view that widening perspectives of how museums and galleries use their collections for psychological meaning will aid greater audience participation and increase mental health well-being.
And I think it is, it's got to be something that's agreed. So there is a long process of drafting things and bouncing it off people and redrafting and bouncing it off. So, and I suppose we need a kind of critical mass of people who have experience of doing that work in order to produce those guidelines. So we've got to make sure there's enough out there. It is going to take a while, but I think we can see now. We can see it happening now, and maybe 2 years ago we couldn't even envisage that we would be able to do that. So it feels very positive at the moment.
The current climate of reduced funding and diminishing jobs for art therapists in traditional NHS settings indicate the importance of responding to new areas. This suggests that despite the challenges, BAT and art therapists as a profession need to expand into new areas and find ways of rising to the challenges presented by these new settings to become equipped for future growth.